J.D. Vance just dropped a shocking bomb that the mainstream media is trying hard to hide. A secret Epstein database, one the American public was never meant to see, has come out. And right in the middle of it, named not once, not twice, but 114 times, is a federal judge who has quietly been ruling on cases that shaped this country. His name is Judge Caldwell, and this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a guess. This is written proof that the Vice President of the United States just put on record when the second most powerful person in the country openly exposes a sitting federal judge's connections to Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle. You know something huge has just changed in Washington. The establishment is panicking, and they should be. Hit that subscribe button right now because this story is moving fast and you'll want every single update as it unfolds. The mainstream media won't touch this, but I will. Subscribe so you never miss a video. So what caused this unprecedented reveal from Vice President Vance? For months, investigators and independent journalists have been putting together pieces of Epstein's network. Flight logs, visitor lists, money records, phone records. But a complete database with messages, schedules, and internal notes, that was the Holy Grail. And now, according to Vance's explosive statement, that database exists and has been accessed. This isn't just another political scandal or Washington drama. This strikes at the heart of trust in America's justice system. When a federal judge, someone given a lifetime job to interpret the Constitution and decide people's futures, shows up more than 100 times in a convicted sex trafficker's private records, every decision the judge ever made comes into question. And Judge Caldwell has made many decisions, cases about civil rights, cases involving powerful people, cases that set rules affecting millions of Americans. When the Vice President of the United States calls out possible judicial corruption tied to the most infamous trafficking network in modern history, it means the gloves are off. This administration isn't just talking about cleaning up corruption anymore. They're actively exposing what's been hidden for years. Here is exactly what the database shows, and why Judge Caldwell should be very, very worried about what comes next. To understand how big this moment is, we need to understand what this database actually is and how it was found. Jeffrey Epstein didn't work alone. He ran a complex operation that needed careful records, schedules, planning, messages, money tracking, and yes, tracking who visited, when, why, and how often. Intelligence experts who study similar operations say it looks like a blackmail network run with business-level organization. For years after Epstein's suspicious death in August 2019, people asked about the so-called client list. But what Vance is describing is far more than just a list of names. This is a connected database, organized records showing patterns of contact, message threads, shared schedules, and links across many types of documents. According to sources familiar with the release, the database was built from many places. Epstein's personal computers taken in the 2019 raid, backup servers, cloud accounts, and physical records found in his homes in New York, New Mexico, and the Virgin Islands. People had long rumored such a database existed, but it was never confirmed until now. Judge Caldwell's name appearing 114 times is not random. According to what Vance made public, these entries cover many years and many categories: message logs, schedule entries, event notes, and what sources call coordination notes. Judge Caldwell was appointed to the federal bench in the early 2000s and has held his lifetime position ever since. During that time, he handled thousands of cases, including high-profile ones involving financial crimes, civil rights, and cases linked to powerful people with strong connections. What makes this especially alarming is the timing. Early analysis of the database shows Judge Caldwell's appearances line up with the years when Epstein's operation was most active and when Epstein received strange legal protection that kept him from serious charges despite strong evidence. The question now tearing through Washington is this: was Judge Caldwell part of the protection system? Did his rulings help Epstein's associates directly or indirectly? And if so, which cases must be reviewed right away? The vice president did not hide what this means. During the disclosure, Vance reportedly said the American people deserve to know who was compromised, and they will know. That one statement sent shockwaves through the federal courts. Smash that like button if this makes sense so far, and leave a comment. Had you heard about this database before today? I read every single comment. Here's what the database entries actually show and why legal experts say this is a 5-alarm fire for Judge Caldwell. First category, direct communication logs. According to Vance, Judge Caldwell appears in message records showing ongoing contact with Epstein's scheduling staff. These are not mistakes. They show repeated contact over many years with dates, times, and reference codes that investigators believe point to specific meetings or events. One entry from 2008 reportedly links Judge Caldwell to something called legal coordination, a phrase that, Given Epstein's legal trouble that same year, sounds extremely serious. 2008 was when Epstein received his infamous sweetheart deal in Florida, a deal legal experts say was one of the most corrupt prosecution agreements ever. Was Judge Caldwell giving advice? Was he part of the system protecting Epstein? The database raises these exact questions. Second category, scheduling records. Judge Caldwell appears in what sources call event planning documents, references to gatherings at Epstein-linked locations, including his New York home and Caribbean properties. These entries don't prove he attended, but they show he was tracked, invited, or considered for private events not open to the public. Third category, financial reference codes. This is where things get especially serious. Analysts who studied the database say some entries include letter number codes believed to match money transactions. Judge Caldwell's name appears next to several of these codes. The exact meaning is still being studied, but the concern is clear. If a federal judge received anything of value from Epstein's network, that would mean not just ethics violations, but possible crimes. Fourth category, what sources call leverage files. Epstein was known to collect damaging information on powerful people to control them. The database reportedly includes tagged entries that investigators see as leverage markers. Judge Caldwell's records include several of these tags. Former federal prosecutor Mark Weinstein, who reviewed the release, said, "If these entries are real, this isn't an ethics issue. This is criminal corruption at the highest level of the federal courts. We're talking about possible bribery, blocking justice, and conspiracy charges that carry decades in prison." Here's the shocking part. Judge Caldwell is still on the bench. Right now, he still has the power to decide cases. He's still ruling on matters that affect Americans, and he was never investigated for his Epstein links, even though the database existed for years. That fact has investigators furious. The database was already in government hands. The FBI had it, the DOJ had it, and for years nothing happened. No investigation, no public release, no accountability, until J.D. Vance said enough. The vice president going public marks a huge change in how this administration is handling the Epstein files. Past administrations sat on this information. This one is using transparency as a tool against protected elites. And Judge Caldwell's 114 entries are just the start. The biggest moment came when Vance shared one specific entry that sources call the smoking gun. According to Vance, one database note from 2010, 2 years after Epstein's sweetheart deal, says, Caldwell confirmed for weekend. Legal discussion with GM Ghislaine Maxwell. The room went quiet. Reporters stopped writing. Camera crews adjusted to capture the moment. A sitting federal judge confirmed for a weekend meeting involving legal talks with Ghislaine Maxwell, now serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking and conspiracy. That one entry turns this from a pattern into what legal experts call direct proof of conspiracy. This isn't distant connections, one investigator said. This is direct coordination. A judge, a trafficker's partner, a scheduled meeting, legal talks. This kind of evidence ends careers and starts prosecutions. When the vice president finished reading that entry, the message was clear. This isn't just about Judge Caldwell. It's about a whole network of protected people who thought their names would never be revealed. They were wrong. Don't go anywhere. What comes next explains why this was hidden for so long. Leave a comment right now. Are you shocked a federal judge is tied to Epstein, or did you always think the corruption went this deep? I read every one. This isn't the first time judicial corruption tied to powerful networks has threatened America, but the size and impact here are unlike anything before. Think back to the 1980s Franklin Credit Union scandal. Claims of child trafficking linked to powerful political figures, including judges and police. That case was shut down. Witnesses died under strange circumstances. Evidence vanished. The establishment protected itself. Then there was the Kids for Cash scandal in Pennsylvania, where judges Mark Ciavarella and Michael Conahan were convicted of taking millions in bribes to send kids to for-profit detention centers. That case showed judges could be corrupt, but it was treated as rare. Just a few bad actors. The Epstein case destroys that idea. What we're seeing now suggests the corruption was organized. Judges, prosecutors, politicians, business leaders, all linked through an operation that traded in human beings while hiding behind respectability. The key difference now is this administration's willingness to break silence. Past administrations, both parties, sat on the Epstein files. Bill Clinton's ties were known but never fully investigated. Big names from both sides appeared in flight logs and faced no punishment. For decades, the system protected itself. What J.D. Vance just did, naming a sitting judge tied to Epstein 114 times, breaks from that era. The vice president just told the protected class their shield is gone. The old pattern was clear. Expose powerful people, then wait for the story to fade. But this administration isn't waiting. They're pushing forward. And that changes everything. Legal experts across the spectrum say this disclosure could spark mass investigations and major legal challenges. Georgetown law professor Alan Rothbard said the test for judges is whether a reasonable person would doubt their fairness. This obliterates that standard. Every case Judge Caldwell handled is now suspect. If even part of the database is true, his rulings could be challenged in bulk. Defense lawyers will act fast. Convictions, rulings, all could be reopened. The legal chaos could be enormous. Former federal prosecutor Sandra Chen said this isn't just about one judge. The entry suggests teamwork. Teamwork means conspiracy. If Caldwell got help, guidance, or anything of value from Epstein's network in exchange for favor, this could mean RICO charges. RICO laws were made to destroy organized crime. Using them here means treating the Epstein network as a criminal enterprise. Legal scholar Victor Daniels added that lifetime judge protection was never meant to hide crimes. We're seeing a breaking point between independence and accountability. Even insiders admit the seriousness. One legal commentator said, if this is real, Caldwell didn't just break rules. He damaged trust in the entire system. Former DOJ official Marcus Webb said exposing corruption hurts trust, but covering it up is worse. Vance's betting openness now prevents a bigger crisis later. It's risky, but maybe necessary. Do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps this reach more people. Engagement fights suppression. So what happens next? The effects spread across law, politics, and institutions. First, calls grow for Judge Caldwell to resign or be impeached. Judges can only be removed by Congress, something that's rare. But pressure is building fast. If even some rulings linked to Epstein, impeachment becomes likely. Congress is already preparing subpoenas for the full database. Leaders say no judge is above the law. Second, every case Caldwell handled is now questioned. Lawyers are preparing appeals, saying their clients didn't get fair trials. Courts already overloaded will face massive reviews. Justice delayed becomes justice denied. Third, the wider Epstein network faces new focus. If Caldwell appears 114 times, who else appears often? Vance said more names are coming. Insiders are panicking. Releasing names slowly keeps pressure high, just like prosecutors do with crime rings. Fourth, politics change forever. Democrats face a hard choice. Defend a judge tied to Epstein or admit real corruption. Neither is safe. Republicans rally around accountability. Any lawmaker who hesitates may face backlash. Fifth, this sets a transparency standard that's hard to undo. Past governments sealed the files. This one uses disclosure against elites. That changes democracy. If people know who was connected, they can decide who to trust. That openness is the base of self-rule. Then Judge Caldwell made it worse. Hours after Vance spoke, his lawyers released a statement experts say was a disaster. Instead of denying the entries, it attacked the release as political. It warned about judicial independence. It denied nothing. No explanations. No refuting the 114 times. Crisis experts were shocked. When accusations are specific and the response is vague, people draw conclusions. The statement also threatened defamation lawsuits. Lawyers pointed out the irony. To sue, Caldwell would have to explain the entries under oath. That would mean testifying about every meeting in code. Experts say he won't do it. The response also didn't ask for an independent investigation, something innocent people usually want. Instead, it demanded the claims be dismissed without review. Attacking the process instead of the facts signals guilt. Beyond one judge, this is about whether America has equal justice or special rules for elites. People see powerful figures avoid punishment while others suffer. The idea of equal justice feels fake to many. What J.D. Vance did was demand that promise be honored. If even a judge can be held accountable, maybe trust can return. This isn't about parties. It's about whether law matters. Everyone deserves fair judges. Everyone deserves truth. That's what's at stake. Subscribe now if you want ongoing coverage. This is only the start. More names are coming. Hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss updates. Here's where things stand. Vance says more disclosures are coming. Congress is moving fast. Hearings are scheduled. Courts are preparing. Judge Caldwell has stepped away from new cases, quietly admitting a problem. Lawyers nationwide are organizing challenges. The DOJ is discussing next steps. Watch three things closely. More names, Caldwell's next move, and how Democrats respond. The stakes couldn't be higher. A sitting judge linked 114 times to Epstein has been exposed. What happens next will decide if justice is equal or protected elites remain untouchable. This isn't just news. It's a reckoning years in the making. The truth is coming out. Share this. Stay tuned. I'll see you next time. All from Elite Democracy.